Welcome to the first podcast of a monthly series that we're going to do here at Herman Marshall. We thought it was prudent to kind of give everybody an update of the things we're doing and things that are ongoing, as well as introduce you to the team. There's been a lot of new things, a lot of new changes in 2024. Everybody that comes in wants to know a little bit about it. So I think this is a good way to initially get our message and story and upcoming events and developments to the public, while also educating the public about whiskey and distilling and all of the trials and tribulations, if you will, that come with it. And so I'll start a bit with the history, because it's got a rich history, unlike a lot of brands out there that start up. It takes a while to get going, and along with those issues that come up with getting going, a lot of people fail along the way. But we've been extremely fortunate to have a group of investors behind us and a rich history that's kind of helped us along the way to get saturated on the shelves, or not saturated, but back on the shelves from where we were prior to the new management's involvement. So Herman Marshall makes its claim, and we've verified this, and we've heard it several different ways, but this is the piece that we know to be true. Herman Marshall originally started officially in 2010, and it was started by Herman Marshall as a hobby. And when I say Herman Marshall, it's Herman Beckley and Marshall Lewis. I forget his last name. And they kind of did it. It started in their garage, and then they moved to a small indiscreet warehouse in Garland, where they bought a 300-gallon pot still, and kind of just, again, started trying to blossom on this hobby that they had. And throughout their entire tenure there, I'd say 10 to 12 years, they never really planned on it getting as big as it did. So they didn't put any money into marketing. That was pre-really marketing days, if you will, and no social media. They didn't have any salespeople. They just did the bare minimums, right? And despite that little lack of effort, they won a couple of awards with their whiskey, which then puts them on the map. And so we were the fourth oldest whiskey distillery in Texas, which is cool. And then we are officially the first distillery in Dallas County. So again, some pretty decent history, but what happened for the transition to the new ownership team is that when COVID hit in 2020, them being a little bit older and less involved, decided that they would just wait it out. And so they kind of shut the doors. And in our industry, you live and die by the distributor or the wholesalers that you sell to. And so people always ask, who do we sell to, and are we on the shelves? But what that entails is we're the manufacturer. We distill it in our distillery across the street, and then we sell to a distributor. The distributor marks it up and sells it to the wholesalers, which are the liquor stores. And of those liquor stores, there's a subset of them called Class Bs, and they sell it to the bars and restaurants. So there are 4 tiers in this system. And if you can imagine, if you want your landed price to be a certain price to the customer so that you don't price yourself out of the market, we got to come in and sell to the distributor pretty low, right? So there's very low margins, and for that reason, most liquor companies fail pretty early on. And we thought, when we're the new ownership group, when they came to us and said, a friend of mine came and said, "Hey, we're thinking about buying this whiskey company. Do you want to come run sales for me?" Because I've run sales in a previous life, which we'll get to in a minute, but. The obvious answer, and what everybody would say, I think, is, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds fun, right? It's relatively inexpensive. There's $0 in sales, so it's basically a dead brand. So we bought a dead company, but we got an active license to distill. We bought the equipment, and then we bought several aging barrels of whiskey, which we'll get to in a minute, because that's come around to be a very awesome scenario in which we capitalize on today, because now those barrels are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So in 2022, the Wylie EDC paid the new ownership group to move the base of operations to Wylie. And so they gave us some economic development funds to build a new facility. And that was going to be our model moving forward, is that we were going to be in this indiscreet little building off of 78. But it needed a lot of infrastructure upgrades to run a still, if you will, right? It was just an empty, old batting cages, old sports complex. It was an old grocery store before that, right? So it needed high-pressure gas. It needed suppression systems. It needed all kinds of safety upgrades and implementations so that we can invite the public over. Well, those construction upgrades and delays, if you will, as all construction has, were taking a little bit longer than we wanted. So during that process, this building in downtown Wylie became available, and we ran into the owner, and she said, hey, why don't you lease this place for a year until your place is completely done, and then you can move back over there. And so the idea was this would be our temporary tasting room on Ballard Street. So we rented it, we renovated it, we moved in, we opened up, and it almost immediately overnight quickly evolved into a full-scale, full-time, super-packed entertainment venue, if you will. We have live entertainment on the weekends. We have multiple events during the week, and Angela, our events coordinator, and much more than that, but she'll touch on those when it gets to her time. So back to the distillery. Everybody asks, when is the distillery going to open for tours? And we've been going back and forth with a couple of issues to where it just wasn't safe yet to have the general public over there. And so we've remediated that, we've rectified that, we've made more investments into the building. And it's about a month away from being finally approved to have distillery tours over there. So yay, year and a half later, here we are.
Why don't you just tell them that I'm grumpy and I don't want people over there?
Right, exactly.
You paint this beautiful picture of all of these upgrades. The truth is the guy that's over there with the keys doesn't want anyone poking their nose around.
Right? right. And the traditional model, if you will, is get your product on as many shelves as possible. But when Herman Marshall, the original, went out of business, it was discontinued at specs. And once you're on that discontinued list, it's supposedly a blackball forever. Well, we didn't know that, right? We were young and naive, or not young, but naive, in that, this will be fun. How easy or how hard could it be? Because all we have to do is go tell them, hey, we're Herman Marshall and we're back, and how many spaces on the shelf can we have? Doesn't quite happen that way. And it also costs a significantly amount more of revenue, of money, to get it to that point again, right? So none of us were prepared for the amount of money and investment that it takes to get it going. Again, naivety was the main contributing factor there, but we did it. And because of that naivety, there were things that we were not supposed to be able to do, and that people said, you'll never make it, it's too late, you missed the boat, you can't get back on the shelves. And I didn't know that, and so I basically just begged for meetings, and then went in there and begged for us to be put back on the shelf. And they kind of looked at me like I was crazy, but at the end of the day, he says, look, you're not supposed to be able to come back from this, but, I like you guys. I like how much of an investment you've put into this. We had immediately invested in 4 regional salespeople. We immediately invested in marketing plans and groups. I showed them what our plan was for the next 3 years, and it was impressive. So he decided to give us a chance. When I say he, that's Steve Jabur over at Specs. Thank you, Steve, for putting us back on the strategic stores in our area that will allow us to get back into the points of distribution that we were already at. So fast forward to today. Where are we at? So we have a distillery and we have a tasting room here, of course, in Wylie, 2-story tasting room. Downstairs is the bar, if you will, where we have live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights. We host all now the games or any sporting events or anything that needs to be broadcast through a system, a stereo system or a TV system. We've made significant upgrades in our system to be able to accommodate all events. And so collectively, we've come together and we've found something that is a niche to the whiskey industry or the spirits industry, if you will. I say that because before we've been Herman Marshall whiskey, but we quickly realized that not everybody drinks whiskey. So we quickly had to come up with a vodka. So we make a vodka, we make a gin, and super happy to say through lots of trials and tribulations and exotic traveling to distant lands, we have located an organic tequila that will be coming online very soon. So we'll have a full lineup of products that we offer that are our products. A law of the specific license that we have says we can't sell anything downstairs that we don't make. And so no beer, no wine, no vermouth, anything that has have alcohol, we can't sell it. So we have to come up with that. But we have and we did, and the interesting piece about this is that you can do all of those things extremely cheap if you want to, and a lot of people do. But one of my personal goals, or what's the word I'm looking for? It was very important to me that everything was done high quality to best and as best as it could be. No cutting any corners. Make it taste good. Make it taste smooth, if you will. It's not an industry term, but the public likes to say the word smooth, right? So we use all organic everything where we can, and we want it to be a really high-end, handcrafted, small-batched craft spirits company where we had tasting rooms in downtown historic areas where we could collaborate with our neighbors like Landon and Echo Brewery and all of the restaurants. We all collaboratively work together to have this kind of symbiotic little ecosystem in downtown areas that where we all can help each other succeed. So that's what it's become, and we've located a couple of more spots in the DFW Metroplex where we can repeat this successful model and kind of establish and grab hold of a niche that's really not there, if you will, in downtown areas where there's foot traffic and it's been gentrified and newly renovated to accommodate newer downtown square type businesses, not just pawn shops and quilt stores. So vape stores, right? So here we are. We're looking, Wylie, thanks to all of the people that come here, and we have lots of regulars. We've made it a wildly successful organization here. We're looking at expanding. We're in talks and almost solidified in the city of Rowlett in their downtown area. We're looking at Prosper, we're looking at Mansfield, and we're looking at a couple of others. So we can increase that profitability and that successful model that we've located.
You're going to get about 400 commercial real estate phone calls.
Great. We already have a real estate agent. But yeah, so we're really proud of what we've built here. 95% of our Google reviews are pay compliments to the staff, and they pay compliments to the vibe. It was really important to me that when you walk in, you don't say this is a bar, a stale-smelling bar, or this is a sports bar. There's TVs on every available space. We've tried to incorporate art and flair and plants and lighting and good sound, good, it's making an overall entertaining experience for everybody that comes. And it's a family environment. We know what our demographic is. We close earlier than we have to. We participate in all of the city organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, downtown city merchants meet here. Last weekend we had the band from the Wylie Fire Department that played here. It's really a community space that everybody can come in and feel welcome and not be worried about a loud, obnoxious bar. And I can successfully say and very proudly say that our 2-year anniversary is coming up on January 20th, which is next weekend. Next Monday. So the Saturday before that, January the 18th, we're having our 2-year anniversary. So please come out and enjoy some specials. We're going to make it a really cool experience. But as of today, in 2 years, we've had 0 DUIs, we've had 0 fights, we've had 0 disturbances, we've had 0 violations. So we've upheld our promise to be a respectable member of this community. And we thank all the citizens of Wylie and all of the city council for giving us that chance and taking a risk. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our staff members. These are our vital management team. And while we all have our specific roles, I can tell you that part of running a business that's run by investors and budgets that need to be adhered to, we all wear multiple hats, and we all work 60 to 70 hours a week to make sure that all bases are covered. So I think the next order of importance, not over importance, but sequentially, the next logical step would be to introduce our head of sales, our head of production, and our head of compliance. All of the things that I didn't want to do, I have allocated to Tony Divenuti, sorry. And I'll let him tell you about his background, but we had a completely different staff when we started, and it becomes real apparent real quick that if you're in an industry that you know nothing about, you need to have people that have experience and that you can trust and that you can delegate to and know that the things are going to get done, and that's certainly what we have here with our staff today. So Tony, it's all yours.
Well, thank you. I took some notes during that intro. I think you just gave me like 7 or 8 podcast topics for the future to dive deeper into. So there's a lot to unpack, and it's all true, and it's fantastic, and I'm super grateful to have been brought over. I've been in this business forever. Christ was a child and the world was flat, and I had long dark hair at one point in time, and I've kind of been through many cycles from the East Coast all the way out to Texas. And becoming a part of the Herman Marshall team back in September, October of last year, during a time of great transition, was quite interesting, actually. And as we were talking about all of these things that are happening now in our different roles, and I'll get in a little bit more into kind of specifically what I do, but it stuck out to me that one of the first things that we did as a team is we were doing some label iterations. And we were on the back side of the label, we were doing the story, and we were, and the last little tagline on there that I don't think a lot of people notice or pick up on, it says family, fellowship, and friends. So when someone asks me kind of what makes the brand special, it's a meticulous eye, right? It's the attention to detail. You lead us with this attention to detail that permeates all of us and all of our roles, and it's infectious, right? And it's a good thing. But I always come back to that because when I think about that and I say, well, family, it really is us here at this table. It's the folks downstairs. It's our friend Will Turner that works with me over in the distillery and out on the streets. Like, we've become a real close family. From, like you said, mopping floors to fixing broken pipes, to dumping
Toilets.
barrels, physically helping us lift the barrels and dump barrels and bottle, literally bringing in, the bar staff to help us do a massive run that we had before Christmas, and bottling and corking and labeling and all that kind of stuff. Like, we really do, it is a family, So I think that looking back on that, it's really apropos that was one of the things that we chose to be in there. And then you talk about fellowship, and I think that fellowship is the community, you know. And Angela, you can really speak more to this than really any of us, but the community involvement, not just us participating, you know, from what I get to see from the outside, not just us participating in the community, but really what you get back from them. You know, and over the holidays, I got to spend a little bit more time here and participate in some of the events. And the community here in Wylie, in this area of North Texas, is really something special. And I think that's the bloodline to, you know, to the brand. I think in the back of our minds we're always thinking about who are we, you know, what are we really doing this for? And it goes so far as to, you know, when we do certain releases, you know, we reach out to the community, whether it's a local bourbon club like the Wylie Whiskey Militia or the guys from Someone Say Whiskey or something like that, where we bring in the community really to help us make certain decisions when it comes to things like special releases and stuff like that. So that fellowship part of it for me really is that community. You know, like you said, you just this past weekend you had the band from the local fire
Salty
band,
Dogs.
you know, and all of the firemen here, and which touches our heart too, which, you know, I think we get into in a later podcast when we talk about some of our partnerships and sponsorships and charitable endeavors. And then finally, when it comes to friends, and I really think that, you know, when you think about friends, that really touches me, because I remember one of our early discussions was, what do we want this brand to be moving forward? And, you know, a year ago, we were in a different place in the bourbon whiskey market. We were still at that peak, you know, where we had there was a lot of high-end drive. There was the, you know, more expensive, more older, you know, it was more kind of, we were heading more in this kind of bourbon snobbery, almost like the Scotch industry, you know, got stuck into for a while. And we were talking about friends, and really one of the things we decided was, we want Herman Marshall to be something that you will sip by a fire or out on the back porch or go camping or if it's a family gathering or you know, whatever. But it's something where it's kind of like a comfortable pair of boots, right? Where you feel good going to it. It's going to be something that you're proud to sip with your family and friends, but yet it's not going to be something so unattainable that it's only going to come out like on a wedding, you know, or a baptism or something like that. So that to me was like that friends portion of it, when we incorporate all of that together. And I really think that it's appropriate, you know, with that the family, which is the team here, you know, the fellowship of our community, and then that desire to be a brand that really can be sipped amongst friends and not unobtainable.
Right.
Take it to the mountaintop.
Yep.
And we can go into into deeper things. I think for me personally, I want to reserve some of this stuff, because you talk about the 3-tier system, which nationally we have a 3-tier system. That's an entire hour that we could bring in some additional guests and talk about. I mean, most people in the United States don't understand the complexity of the alcohol system. We're more highly regulated than guns in the U.S. You know, we're the most regulated industry. Nationally, 3-tier system. In the state of Texas, you mentioned that 4th tier, you know, where you have those retailers that are also the wholesalers, or some of them are the wholesalers to your on-premise, so it doesn't flow directly from your distributor to the bar or restaurant. So a lot of times folks will be like, oh, I'd like to have this at my local bar, but it takes a long time for it to get through the pipeline to get there. And I think those are great to elaborate on in the future. We could do a whole hour, 2 hours on that, and then never mind all of the regulatory things. I mean, we joke about it, but sometimes I feel like I'm the Peanuts, you know, the guy that walks around with the little cloud over his head. Like sometimes the team comes up with these great ideas, and I'm the guy.
And then Tony's like, nope.
I'm the guy that comes in and go, yeah, that's not legal, folks. Yeah, we run it by the lawyers, but I don't know if this one's going to fly. So, you know, so sometimes I just feel like that. You know, it's kind of the Captain Rain Cloud, you know, raining on all the great ideas. But you know, before I pass it off to Nick and Angela to really speak about it, because, you know, I get over on the distillery side of things, it's more kind of work boots and you know, jamming the music and t-shirts and ball caps, and you know, it's not the pretty part of the business necessarily, right? And over here, you guys are the face of the brand over here, and I think what you said about the reviews and the staff is tremendous. And it's unique, and it's just going out. I don't know how many of you guys have gone out. Like just last night, I went out for, you know, dinner and drinks with my wife while the kids were at practice, and the experience, the on-premise experience right now is not good. Even in some of the more, higher end or casual, luxury casual, if you want, or whatever, we used to call it casual dining or, whatnot. We're losing something in that industry. And here in these four walls, I think you guys have really developed a team that cares about the customer experience, and it's noticeable. It really, really is.
Yeah, and to allude on that, right? So when we have an open server position, we'll interview however many applicants that there are. If it's 10, we'll interview 10 and pick the best one, right? Because having a person with the right attitude, they may not have experience in whiskey, and they may not have experience serving, or they may not have experience bartending, but if they have a good personality and you can teach them these things, then it goes a long way with the customers, right? Because they come back here because they love having that one-on-one interaction, right? And then when, you have to have an intelligent conversation with whiskey because it's a little bit different of a spirit than your typical bar. Your vodkas, they want to know the history of it. And so we make all of our people be level 2 certified, whiskey sommelier, if you will, level 2 certified through Thief and Stave Society, right? And so that they're educated and they can speak to it and that they're not intimidated to speak about it, right? And so that combined with the ability to pick the right personalities, really goes a long way with having people come back, because we all know in the service industry, like you mentioned, it's not there anymore, and we pay more than most people, and we do what we can to improve the customer experience, and that's why I drive home the importance of details and cleanliness and coasters and tablecloths, whatever. It's the details that matter, and it's also the details are the most ultimate form of respect that you can show to the public. So we work hard for that. Mm-hmm. So next, I'll introduce Nick Lazorko, and he is our general manager. He wears multiple hats as well. He's responsible for making sure that all of the distilled products that come over here, where we rectify them on site, we'll get into that later, what rectifying means, and another form of the TABC regulations that we have to adhere to. But on site, upstairs at the tasting room is where we bring over the juice, the whiskey or the vodka or whatever spirit it is at its full strength after it's been strained. We add water to it to proof it down to the desired proof, and then we put it in a bottle, we label it, we cork it, and we put it in a case pack, and it goes in the closet until it's ready to go downstairs to the serving area, where then we have to go through some other TABC hoops to logistically to adequately move it from one space to another in the TABC software system that they audit us with. So Nick definitely takes care of all of everything that comes out of here as far as sales go, from the drinks to the new upcoming 2025 food menu. Yes. Yay. Yes. We'll touch on that a little bit. I forgot to, but basically, we've done everything we can to optimize this place as far as drinks. But at the end of the day, anybody that orders food, which is most people, we have QR codes on the back of our menu where people can come and order from any of the participating restaurants that are on our street, and they'll walk the food over to the person's table. But we're not making any money off of that, and we need to be able to serve food to have people not only be able to sit here longer, because food helps with being in a lack of inebriation, if you will. So bourbon and bites, something that you can come in and have bites in various different forms: charcuterie boards, sandwiches, grazing boards, things of that nature that will allow you to sit through a 3-hour game and still be sober when you walk out of here, which is most important, right? So, So Nick is in charge of all of that. He's in charge of hiring. He's in charge of firing. He's in charge of making sure things are efficient and stay within budget. And he comes to us much like Tony has, with a vast background of experience in the industry. So, without further ado, our illustrious general manager, Nick Lazorko.
Well, thank you, Jason.
AKA, he's the previous hockey.
Yeah, you've taken all of my notes, just so you know. But yeah,
Check them all out.
a lot to unpack in the first episode. So thank you. Yeah, I'm Nick. My background is I majored in hockey with a minor in alcohol. So I retired 6 years of minor league hockey, and when I got done, I was born and raised in Wylie, Texas. So right across the pond here from Wylie. I am now happy to say I am a full-time Wylie resident, which is awesome. So this is 5 minutes down the road from my house. I love it here. My family loves it here. We're a big part of being involved in the community. And just coming online last year with Herman Marshall has just been a blessing for me and my family. There's so much potential. There's so many things coming forward here. But again, I worked with Tony prior to this with another brand. I was there for 4 years. We built it up from 2 states to 24, I believe, in distribution.
I think when I was done hazing you and I had moved on, you were at something like that, 22 states.
Yes. So. Again, there's a lot of details that go into the liquor business, especially involving whiskey, especially when you're making it yourself. You're not just sourcing all the time. You're trying to make it and do it the correct way. So the environment here, when I first came in, Jason brought me in and said, hey, take this first month and really look at how can we be efficient in different areas, right? So how can the tasting room perform at maximum capacity with what we have at minimal cost, right? As a small business, you got to take all that into consideration, your labor, and that's again why we're full-time employees here. We're trying to work as many hours as we can throughout the week. It's a bit of a grind right now, but it pays off in the long run. Again, hiring and managing staff. I got an interview, Jason, in about an hour. Okay, so we got to wrap up this first episode quick, but it's the environment. It's when you go out and you want to. Take your wife out for a night. You may only get one night out a month. You want to go to a place that you're going to get good service and you're going to be able to have a good conversation with those bartenders or those servers, and they're knowledgeable, they're polite, they're doing the little things. And so this past year has been, I believe, a huge upgrade for the overall mentality of not only us, but as a team with the servers, bartenders, and working with Tony and Will over the distillery. It all goes hand in hand, right? Working with vendors and orders, that's another thing. We're starting to get, as we're growing, we're getting more vendors, trying to get more community vendors that Angela's done very well with, getting things into these events, whether it's catering from this restaurant or this restaurant nearby, everything local. So
And
we're trying to stay
candles.
local. And candles,
Coffee.
Yep, candles, coffee. We got barrel-aged coffee, more of that coming. Just a lot of little details that really make a big impact in the long run. But let's see, bottling upstairs. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Jason will come up, blare some EDM music for about an hour up here, and we'll knock out about 20, 30 cases in 30 minutes. So again, everything that's being sipped on downstairs, liquor-wise, it needs to be bottled up here. It needs to be proofed down here. It needs to be reported correctly, inventory correctly. So it's a lot of little background detail things that I like to think I'm more in the background operations side of things, and these are the beautiful people. These are the faces here. So and then again, helping with events. Angela will touch on a lot of that, but and outside events. One of our best sponsors that I've honestly ever seen is Guns and Hoses right here. We have a bottle for them. This has been more of not just a partnership, not just a sponsorship. They're actually friends of ours now, and this past year has just been awesome to see that friendship grow, being a part of their golf tournaments, their boxing, hockey. They do all kinds of things, but I've never seen a partnership or sponsorship give back to a whiskey company like they have for us, coming into our tasting room, cooking up barbecue for everybody, for our customers for free, just trying to raise money for the fire department, the police department. It goes a long way, but.
Nick, if you mentioned the Guns N' Hoses Foundation, and I think it's important to note, I said I've been doing this forever. Nick and I worked together for a number of years on previous brands, so he knows firsthand how many times that I've tried to work with a partnership where there's a true donation, a true give back. Because I came from big brands at one point in time in my career, and I can remember, we had a whiskey at the time where it was like we donate a portion of the proceeds to, and so you're out there as a sales guy pitching this, and you're thinking, okay, we're donating a portion, and I know what we're selling it for, so this must be really good, and then when you dive deep enough, or if you peel back the onion, or if you happen to be at a national sales meeting and you manage to get one of the bean counters drunk, and you can actually figure out like exactly how much, and you find out that it's after COGS, it's after sales cost, it's after, where that percentage comes out. So it really works out to be minor. And when this deal came through, and Jason, this was pitched to you, and this is really a testament to you. The idea was that we really want to be meaningful in a partnership. Not only in the cause, like the Guns N' Hoses Foundation supports the families of fallen first responders, police and fire, right? So that's near and dear to our heart. That goes back to that fellowship and that community. But when I remember when pitching the idea that we're going to give 15% of our gross revenue, not net revenue, not after COGS, after marketing costs, after everything, that we donate 15% of the gross revenue
of that bottle,
of every bottle of that 92 proof single barrel that we sell to the Guns N' Hoses Foundation. That was a tremendous, commitment on your part to do that. And then, as Nick mentioned, they became family. I mean, it's a charity that really, for as much as we, participate in giving to them, they participate and give back to us. They become
you don't see that too often.
Yeah, they become our second family. So I just thought it was worth highlighting that in particular because that really
Definitely.
touches on what's at the core, I think, of this brand and really what Jason has built and surrounded himself with, not just this team but culturally, around us.
Yeah, thank you for that. And in another episode, of course, you see all of our various products that we put out, and there's some on the end. We'll each of them have their own unique story, and we'll get into that too in one of the next podcasts. But the next person we want to introduce, Angela Ramirez, is one of those hires where I'm hiring for a bartender position. In the meanwhile, let me go back a little bit about this event space. So in our 2-story space upstairs, it was kind of a bonus space. And what do we do with it? Obviously, anybody who wants to have a birthday party, yes, right? But it could be much more, and it grew into that. And now that's somebody takes a full-time person to focus on that because of all of the 1,000 little details per event that have to happen. And we're having 4 or 5 events a week sometimes 2 in the same day.
And planning out, for the next year.
Planning for the next year, right? So we needed somebody, right? And when I was hiring Angela for a server position, one of the few people that show up dressed correctly. I'm old school, and the interview is everything, right? Because you can come in and talk your way and smile your way through the first 30 minutes of an interview, but how do you? I go much deeper than that. I allow them to get over that 30 minutes, and then I probe a little bit further, right? Asking the right questions, but how you dress, how you present your resume. That's a rare ritual that people just don't have anymore these days, right? And so Angela impressed me from the beginning. She's not stealing your thunder. She's owned her own business, so she understands the young generation. No offense, young generation, but you guys suck. And so she was a perfect fit. I hired her immediately on the spot, and since then. She's been a tremendous addition to the team. We all of us could probably fairly admit that we couldn't do it without her because all of the things that we don't have the mind share to do or we will forget. She's always Johnny on the spot with reminding us not to forget this and doing the things that without me having to ask. Get done and that need to get done.
She's our fairy godmother.
Yes. We call a unicorn fairy godmother.
She's our younger big sister.
Yes. So without further ado, this is Angela Ramirez. Official is director of events, but there's again many more job titles that she carries. So Angela.
Let me just wipe my tears a little bit. No, thank you so much. I think I first have to say definitely expound on what each of these gentlemen did say because, man, we are a team for sure. I always, lately, I guess since the holidays, I've kind of described, especially the 3 of us. I mean, we are a team, but the 3 of us here, I described to someone the other day as hamsters in a hamster wheel. So we have the hamster wheel, and then we have the hamsters just running. But we all have been together so much over the last few months, just again with events and planning and all of that. It is definitely friends and family. I think I talk to these guys sometimes so late at night. My husband's like, are you talking to Nick or are you talking to Jason? And I'm like, both of them. And so it's just really cool. Jason's right. When I came in for the interview, I owned my own business. And it was that season of my life where I was ready to move on. And our interview, I thought would be 30 minutes, ended up being, I think, a little over 2 hours. But it was cool because it really, I was able to share, what my passion is, and that's people and event planning. And Jason has really encompassed that and allowed me to kind of run with it. I get to be a part of all of the downtown things, the Chamber of Commerce. I come to him with a crazy idea, and he's like, okay, if you think it's going to work, or no, I don't think it's going to work. But I'm like, yes, it's going to work.
If it makes money.
Yes. And so being able to go into this role for the event section or this event space has just really been really an awesome experience. And so I'm really looking forward to 2025, what it's going to bring. I think that people don't know what they don't know. And so if they might have come into the tasting room many a times, but, one of us are like, hey, have you seen upstairs? And they're like, no. And then they come up here and it's just a totally different vibe. Having business meetings here. So people just think, oh, we're going to have a party, we're going to have an anniversary party, or we're going to have a birthday party. When in reality, this space is so much more. It could be, a business meeting. It could be, we've done memorials.
And
we've done weddings. Yes. We've done baby showers. And so it's all neat and it's all exciting, but it does come back to those reviews. It comes back to when you get that text message, after the party that said, hey, this was an amazing night. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for your staff. Those are the things that mean the most. And that's the drive to continue to grow it. And so, again, it could be a whole nother podcast with all the things that could happen up here, all the things that going into 2025 that we're looking forward to. And so stay tuned for that. But just coming up quickly is going to be, again, our 2-year anniversary. We're going to celebrate that on January 18th. We're going to have live music, a food truck, all the things. So make sure you come and hang out with us for the day or throughout the day.
Can you do a mobile podcast like in a reality TV show? Can we just have DJ follow you guys around?
He does anyways.
A day in the life of.
Yes. I think this would become its own reality TV show because the amount of you guys so undersell. Because again, I have the benefit Will and I have the benefit we get tapped when it's all set up. Angela will say, hey, I need you to be here to do this.
Wear this shirt, show up at this time.
And you walk in, you're like, oh, I'm here to set up. And she's got everything done and everything set up. And all you got to do is put whiskey in the bottle and then talk for a couple hours, right? And I think that it's you're underselling because I've kind of been passing through here when I've seen the transition of this space. Normally when you come up here and it's just 4 walls and concrete floors. Yeah. But to see it's been, I don't want to call it the seance room, right? We had the mystic psychic in here. Yeah. And kind of had the seance room going. It's been the wedding venue. One thing, folks, if you ever do a function here, no confetti.
No confetti, yes.
No confetti, no glitter.
That's a whole podcast.
If somebody does follow us for 12 hours, Tony, they're going to get about 50,000 steps.
Yeah, for sure. But we also coming up and we're going to have a bottle release. We're going to have a Valentine's dinner. So, there's many things that are happening for 2025. So make sure you follow us on social media. We have an amazing social media team. And and so you can check us out on our website. at hermanmarshall.com or on our social media, our Facebook and Instagram. So I have to have that plug in there because I think that one of the things that we have noticed from 2024 going into 2025 is we have an awesome following on our social media, and that has really grown this space, for the things that we get to do here. So
Can you talk a little bit, because I know it's upcoming, a little bit more about what you guys are doing for the Valentine's Day, because that dovetails with what we've got going on over across
absolutely.
78,
and Galentine's
right?
Day
Yeah.
too as well.
So first, let me preface this by, when I spoke earlier about the collaborations with the community, we got to give a big thanks and special shout out to Landon Winery because they've been more than welcoming and willing to help us. Bob Landon, I've spoke to him many times, and he's given us advice on just the overall business model, what works, what doesn't. But he also shares his barrels with us, right? So when they empty their barrels out of various different wines, they give them to us. We put our aging whiskey in it, and then we let it rest in that barrel for 6 months. And then we'll do a collaboration like the one you see here, where we put their logo on our whiskey, and we sell it. And they sell out within a week. And we've done 2 or 3 of those. And what Angela's about to touch on is that we have another one coming up on Valentine's Day, a very special one. But again, we really want to give thanks to Landon Winery and all their employees, and especially Bob for welcoming us and not looking at us like a competition on the street. He's literally 4 doors down, 5 doors down, but just collaborating with us every step of the way, right? So thank you guys.
So what Tony was talking about is we have 2 really big events coming up in February. February 8th, we're doing a Galentine's event. Tickets are almost sold out completely, which is so exciting for me. These guys don't get excited about that kind of thing. Yes, it's an event. Yes, it's all the things. But it truly is. When I decided I wanted to do this Galentine's event, part of my job is I get to do all the networking things, and I get to see a lot of women, business owners, mamas that, have stay-at-home moms, and just meeting a lot of people through here. And so the goal of the Galentine's event was truly to have these ladies here and to enjoy 2 hours where they don't have to wear a hat. They don't have to be a mom for a minute. They don't have to be a wife. They don't have to be a business owner. Just come, have drinks, socialize, have food, and just come and be in a space where it's a safe space, and it's just a good time. So
There'll be no gossiping, right?
no gossiping, no men talking, no nothing.
So wait a minute, it's you say that again. It's
Galentine's,
as in gal, like women.
all women,
Yes.
So it's an all women.
all women, no men. We're not even gonna have men servers. Nothing. It's all women.
all guys,
all women.
all guys downstairs.
All guys downstairs.
Downstairs.
They're not even invited. And so it really is. It's just a time where, girls can come together and just have a little girl power moment. So if you haven't gotten a ticket, you should probably do so, because I think there's like 5 left,
And what day is
honestly.
that?
It's February 8th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we're going to have brunch catered by a local business here. And then the activity, everything is local. I'm very big. Jason did touch on that. But I am very big about us supporting local small businesses, because as a small business and as a previous small business owner, you understand. And so anybody that we have done pairings with, anyone that we've done dinners with, I seriously try to use local first. If it doesn't work out, obviously, we will do outside, but if we can make it work inside the city of Wylie with businesses, we will do that 100%. So Galentine's event, get your tickets. And then the next one for February, that's a big one for us, is going to be our Valentine's dinner and bottle release. So we'll have kind of simultaneously running those things, but the dinner, you can come have an Italian dinner catered by our local business, add a bottle of the new release on. So there's a couple of different options that you have for that. We did a dinner and jazz that was just so awesome that we decided, why not? For Valentine's,
There'll be some live music.
Live
too, right?
music.
Yeah.
We'll have live music. We'll have dinner. You can add on your bottle. Just a nice local place for you to go and have a nice dinner with.
Date night.
Night.
Yep.
Or you could bring your girls and have a night. So, but yes, we'll also do a bottle release. So if you're not interested in the dinner and you just want to grab a bottle of the new
Tony, you want to tell us a
release.
little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we were talking earlier about maybe doing a show that talks really about this finishing process and whatnot. But this release for Valentine's Day, we're using our Dry County American whiskey. And what we've done is, you talk about the Landon's barrel. We rested it for 6 months in a Landon's port wine barrel. And I want to tell a quick side story on this one. So the Landon's guys are fantastic, right? You called them up and said, hey, do you have any barrels? And they were there within a day. And we were looking for what they call wet barrels, right? So we wanted to get the barrel as quickly to us, like immediately after they emptied the wine out of it, as close to as possible. So we did. We got a Cabernet barrel and a port barrel, and it was. I happened to be alone that day over there, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna fill the port wine barrel with the American whiskey. So we have these little spigots that we kind of screw into the bunghole, right? And then there's an attachment where your pump has like an attachment, so you can pump. You can attach the pump directly to it and pump it out of the tank and into the barrel. So that's what I did, right? So we have 53-gallon barrel. So I figured, we're topping off, but we're pretty close to the top, right? So I didn't even consider the amount of pressure that would have built up inside this barrel. So I finally realized that the barrel's full because we're starting to leach a little bit, and it's like this deep red, ruby color that's coming out of it. Well, I popped that valve off, and it spit up like a geyser. Like a geyser. And it was this dark ruby red port wine. Immediately, that you could see that the whiskey was taking on that color. And we just recently tasted it again. Had Will over there tasting it, and we're really excited about what this is, because typically, you'll take a rye or you'll take a bourbon and you'll stick it into a cab barrel or something like that. This one here, using the American whiskey with some sweeter profile and notes, I think this is going to be really, really great release. And again, it's the Dry County American whiskey. It's been finished in a Landon's port barrel for 6 months. It's going to be a fantastic addition to that season.
The proof on that, do we know?
It's going to be it's 90 proof.
90
so
proof?
we're staying in line with kind of the product line.
Awesome.
90 proof on it, and 6 months in that port barrel, and it's drinking fantastic. Even now, where we still have about a month to go, it's drinking fabulous now.
So before you say it, we need to have a whole podcast on terminology because a backstory from where I actually came from, which is aviation. I didn't know whiskey. We drank a lot of whiskey, but I didn't know whiskey. And so coming in to this world, some of the terminology, I'm like,
You don't know what a bunghole is?
yeah! Well, I mean, So.
And that's the podcast. Good episode.
See Beavis and Butthead. See Beavis and Butthead.
So we'll have a whole podcast on terminology, but yes, so I'm super excited about that that dinner. So that is also available on our website and our social media for you to grab those tickets as well. So
Yeah.
lots of fun things coming.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys. You've met the team. There's lots more to come. We appreciate your time, and please come see us. We're open Tuesday through Sunday at various hours. See our website.
Wednesday to Sunday.
Have a good day.